Before we dive in, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment, because what you're about to hear is a story most prisons tried to bury. The sirens cut through the cold morning fog like a scream no one could silence. Inside the concrete maze of Redwood Correctional Facility, one of America's most notorious female maximum security prisons, chaos was unfolding. Guards sprinted across the yard, their radios crackling with panic. In cell block D, a woman lay lifeless on the floor. Her name was inmate number 4127, Carla Monroe, a former nurse serving 20 years for second-degree murder. But this wasn't suicide, not this time. Her cell was spotless, no signs of a struggle, no weapon, just one strange thing, a strip of torn bedsheet tied neatly around her wrist, like a bracelet. Warden Evelyn Grant arrived within minutes, calm, cold, and deliberate. She'd run Redwood for 8 years and knew every secret that breathed within its walls. Lock it down. Nobody leaves the block. The inmates knew the rules. When the alarms went off, you kept your mouth shut. But whispers still spread like smoke. Carla wasn't just another inmate. She was the one who knew things. Things about guards smuggling pills, about late-night movements in the infirmary, about inmates who disappeared after solitary confinement. Detective Lucas Kane from the Humboldt County Sheriff's Office was called in. He'd investigated Redwood before, years ago, after a guard was found dead in the laundry room. The official story was accidental overdose, but Kane had never believed it. Inside Carla's cell, he noticed something odd. A tiny mark on the wall, just above the steel cot. Faint letters scratched into the paint. D-Wing, 3 a.m. What the hell does that mean? His partner Ramirez asked. Kane didn't answer. He was already staring through the bars, his gut tightening. D-Wing wasn't just another block. It was the silent wing, a section officially under renovation, but rumor had it the place was still used for other purposes. He visited it that night. The corridor smelled of bleach and damp concrete. Every door was sealed except one, slightly ajar. He stepped inside. Dust floated in the beam of his flashlight. In the corner, beneath an old bunk frame, he found something. A hidden phone wrapped in plastic. On the screen, one message glowed faintly. She found the tapes. If they know, we're dead. The phone's battery died before he could trace it. By morning, Warden Grant was furious that Kane had gone into D-Wing without permission. She demanded he hand over what he found, claiming it was evidence in an internal matter. He refused. That's when the next shock hit. An inmate named Tasha Bell, Carla's closest friend, requested to speak to Kane. Her hands trembled as she spoke. "They think it's over," she whispered. But Carla was trying to get something out, something from the infirmary. "What was it?" Kane asked. Tasha looked over her shoulder. "Not what, who?" He leaned in closer, but before she could say more, a guard entered the room, ending the interview.
Later that night, as Kane reviewed the security footage, he saw something that froze him. At 3:02 a.m., just like Carla's message said, someone walked through D-Wing wearing a nurse's uniform, but the face under that cap wasn't Carla's. It was Warden Evelyn Grant. Detective Lucas Kane didn't sleep that night. He replayed the footage over and over. The unmistakable figure of Warden Evelyn Grant moving through D-Wing at 3:02 a.m., just hours before Carla Monroe's death. She wasn't alone either. A second figure followed. Tall, male, face hidden under a hood. Redwood was an all-female prison. That made the sight even more disturbing. By sunrise, the prison hummed with tension. The guards were tight-lipped, the inmates restless. Word had spread. Carla Monroe was dead, and the detective wasn't buying the official story. Kane and his partner, Ramirez, visited the infirmary, the sterile heart of Redwood, lined with steel cabinets and locked drawers. The prison nurse on duty, Sister Marie, was an older woman with hollow eyes and a rosary around her wrist. She had served there for nearly 20 years. When Kane asked for Carla's medical records, Sister Marie's hands trembled. "They were transferred," she said quietly. "Warden's orders." "Transferred to where?" Her lips pressed tight. "Ask her yourself." Kane noticed a small stain on the floor near the cabinet, faint but unmistakable. Blood. It had been hastily cleaned. He crouched down, rubbing his fingers against the tile. Still tacky. Recent. "Someone was hurt here," he muttered. Ramirez pulled open a nearby locker. Inside, beneath stacks of gauze and saline, was a brown envelope marked Restricted Evidence. Inside were a dozen Polaroids, grainy photos of inmates with bruises, restraints, and one shot that stopped Kane cold. It was Carla Monroe, alive, terrified, her eyes swollen. The photo had a timestamp, just 2 nights before her death. "She didn't kill herself," Ramirez whispered. Kane nodded. She was silenced. That afternoon, Kane confronted Warden Grant in her office. Sunlight poured through the barred windows, casting shadows across her desk. "You were in D-Wing the night Carla died," he said. Her face didn't flinch. "Detective, you are out of your jurisdiction. Redwood is under state authority. If you interfere again, I'll have you removed." He stared at her, but her eyes were unreadable, the kind of calm that hides rot underneath. Outside, as Kane stepped into the yard, Tasha Bell was waiting, eyes darting in every direction. "You shouldn't be here," she said. "They watch everything." "What was Carla trying to get from the infirmary?" Kane asked. Tasha hesitated, then whispered, "A hard drive, hidden in the nurse's office. It had recordings from the cameras no one's supposed to know about." Kane's pulse quickened. "Recordings of what?" "Of them," she said. "What they do in D-Wing." Before he could ask more, 2 guards approached. Tasha's voice cracked as they grabbed her arms. "You didn't hear it from me, but if you want proof, check the vents behind the infirmary's freezer."
That night, Kane returned. He waited until lights out, slipping into the infirmary through a maintenance door. The air was heavy with disinfectant and fear. He found the freezer, pushed it aside, and pried open the vent. Inside was a small black case. He opened it. Inside, a USB drive, labeled in white marker, Project C12. He pocketed it and slipped out, just as the emergency lights flickered red. The entire prison went into lockdown. Sirens blared. Through the chaos, a voice rang over the loudspeaker, cold, controlled. "This is Warden Grant. All units, locate Detective Kane. He is now considered a threat to state security." The doors sealed behind him with a heavy metallic thud, and in that instant, Kane realized he wasn't investigating Redwood anymore. He was trapped inside it. The alarms screamed across Redwood Correctional Facility, echoing through every corridor like the heartbeat of a dying beast. Detective Lucas Kane sprinted through the dimly lit hallways, the USB drive clutched tight in his hand. Red lights strobed overhead. Every gate was sealed. He could hear boots behind him, guards sweeping the blocks with rifles drawn. "This is insane," he muttered under his breath. "She's covering up something bigger than a murder." He ducked into the nearest maintenance tunnel, a narrow concrete throat that ran beneath the D-Wing. The air was suffocating, thick with rust and mold. His flashlight flickered as he crouched, sliding the USB into his jacket pocket. Above him, the intercom crackled. "Detective Kane, this is Warden Grant. You're interfering in a federal investigation. Surrender yourself before anyone gets hurt." But her tone wasn't warning, it was threat. When Kane finally reached the end of the tunnel, he found himself behind a heavy, bolted door marked C-Wing, Restricted Access. It wasn't on any of the blueprints. He forced it open. Inside was silence, cold, sterile, and wrong. The walls were lined with cameras, the floor spotless, and along one side,
5 empty hospital beds, each with restraints. Above each bed, a small label: Subject 001, Subject 002, Subject 005. A laptop sat on a desk nearby, still running. He plugged in the USB. The screen flickered, and then the truth unfolded. Video files. Dozens of them, each labeled with dates, each showing the same horror. Inmates strapped down, sedated, interrogated under bright lights. Guards in medical uniforms questioning them, injecting them, recording everything. Voices in the background mentioning behavioral modification trials. And in one clip, unmistakably, Warden Evelyn Grant giving orders. Remove her, no witnesses. It was a human experiment buried under the guise of rehabilitation. Kane's jaw tightened as he realized what Carla Monroe had discovered. She'd stolen the footage. She was planning to expose it, and they silenced her before she could. A metallic clang echoed behind him. Kane spun around. Warden Grant stood in the doorway, gun drawn. Her calm was gone. Her eyes burned with fury. "You have no idea what you're dealing with. This prison is funded by people far above my pay grade. You think you can stop that? You murdered an inmate to protect it. You tortured them." Grant smiled, cold, venomous. "They were criminals, Detective. I made them useful."
A shot rang out, deafening. Kane doped to the side, the bullet shattering a monitor. He fired back once, hitting the power grid. Sparks exploded. The lights went dark. When the emergency lights flickered on again, Grant was gone. The door behind her swung open. Kane ran after her through the corridors, emerging into the yard as helicopters blazed overhead. State authorities had arrived. Someone had leaked the lockdown alert to the media. Grant made it halfway to the watchtower before the guards surrounded her. For the first time, she looked afraid. Kane approached slowly, holding the USB drive up. "It's over," he said. She stared at him, trembling. "You think this stops with me?" she whispered. "Project C-12 has 10 more sites." Her words hung in the freezing air. The officers dragged her away, her voice fading into the chaos. Weeks later, Redwood Correctional was shut down. The videos leaked. The country erupted in outrage. Every file connected to Project C-12 vanished overnight. Kane left the force soon after. The images from those recordings burned into his mind. He kept one copy of the drive locked in a safe just in case the truth ever disappeared again. But 3 months later, a letter arrived at his door. No return address. Inside, a single photo. A woman, sitting on a metal bed in a prison cell, smiling. Carla Monroe. On the back, a handwritten message. "You only exposed one prison, Detective. The real one still stands." If you thought this story was over, think again, because some secrets don't stay behind bars. Hit subscribe. The next case is darker than this one.